Nancy asked, and I think a lot of people on the line would be wondering, any sort of simple advice or rules that people can follow as to how best to navigate through this auction so they can buy their property without causing themselves a heart attack. No pun intended, Greg.
I know. So I was just looking at that. I think the first thing is don't drown in data. Like you were saying, people look at all this data and it's just all too consuming. Unless you have the knowledge to understand that data doesn't mean anything, because so if you're looking to buy a house, just don't get too hung up on the data, because a lot of the things like median prices, clearance rates, things like that, and unless the data is actually reported accurately, which sometimes is not 100% accurate, don't get too hung up on that. So the first thing I say is don't drown yourself in data, don't get too confused, just take a deep breath. So that's the first one. You don't get drowned in data. Ask the right questions. So a lot of people will go to a place there and they won't ask the right probing questions. The questions you should be asking the agent is things like, what type of buyers are looking at this property? Not how many buyers. Things like what type. Are they first homeowners? Are they empty nesters? Are they investors? All those people have different criteria and different budgets. So if the agent is being honest with you and he gives you this sort of information, you can turn that into knowledge, because a first homeowner and an empty nester and investor will have a different budget. So you can look at, that gives you like the sort of guidelines. It also then, how many people have actually taken a contract, which normally everybody does. Ask them how many people have actually taken a contract and asked for changes, because those are probably more serious than most people just take a contract and stuff like that. A very key thing, is this house ready for me? Don't get FOMO, Lucas's favorite thing. Don't just go in there and get panicky and say, and fear of missing out. Make sure that this property is what you want. So don't get FOMO. Then prepare your price. Okay, so when you say prepare your price, you go through different scenarios. You go to yourself, okay, would I be happy if it goes under the price that I'm prepared to pay? So you go, well, I'll be over the moon if that's the one scenario. You then go, what is a fair price? And you go, okay, well, that is probably what the fair price is. And then you get the third thing, you say, what am I prepared to stretch to, but without putting yourself, as you talked about mortgage stress, without stressing yourself out. And the only way you can get that is look at the thing and understand the knowledge. We talked about that. Is it only comes from knowledge, understanding those things. So you can get someone to help you that understands those sort of things. But key things, know what price you're prepared to pay, know what price and how far you're prepared to go. The other one is, again, consider the competition. And sometimes they were saying, when you actually at an auction, you can actually look at people's body language and understand whether the person you're bidding against is actually reaching their sort of budget, or they've gone past their budget, especially when they start talking to the missus or the partner. and then it's like, biting the fingernails, and you can start thinking, okay, those people read the signs. If you're at that auction and you're looking and you're seeing the person you're bidding against is actually talking to their partner, you can probably be pretty sure that they have reached their budget, or they're stretching themselves, and you know how far to push.
So, Greg, are you condoning people going and playing poker at the casino or with their friends to hone their skills of
absolutely
being able not to show their emotions?
In a scenario like this, when you're spending, we're talking median price $1 million. Okay, so you're betting on something big. You need to know this. You can have a look at the auction, see if a person's real, look at their body language. And then on Zoom auctions that are happening a lot, these days, some people forget to put the mute on. so they'll be like, hey, they'll be talking to their partner, and so I think we've gone over there, and then so these are little things, little tricks. Is look at body language on a Zoom auction, have a look at that. And the final thing is, if the property is going to get passed in, make sure it gets passed into you. Make sure you're the final bidder. In Queensland, that doesn't apply, but who cares about Queensland? We're talking about Melbourne here at the moment. Make sure that if the property gets passed in, it gets passed into you. So then you've got first chance of being able to negotiate the deal that you hopefully get the property. You know, some people go, oh, it's going to pass and then I'll get an offer in afterwards. That's not the case, because whoever had the highest bid at the last time, it gets passed on to them. So those are the 5 things that I suggest you prepare yourself to go to an auction. If you do your homework like me, I try and prepare 10 hours before, which is insane, but be prepared, and you will actually you'll probably have you'll get what you want, or not what you want, because the property is not right.
Yeah. All right. Great advice there, Greg. I think particularly that one about, if it's still within your price range, and the auction or the auctioneer hasn't announced that the property is on the market, make sure you are that last bidder. I brought my current home in exactly the same manner, and locked it in for a price that I was wrapped with. It was below what I thought was a fair price. And I do know the agent told me after that there was another buyer who was prepared to pay more. But I was able to get in first, lock that away. So really, really good advice there. I think anyone who is out there, you need to be active, you need to be aggressive, and you need to focus, but you need to have a foundation so that you don't do something that you're going to regret. And I think Greg's given you a really, really good framework to work with there.